What's good, brother?
What's happening, Kitchens?
Looking good, man. How's are you deep down the rabbit hole when it's coming to because have you been competing lately?
I have. I've actually been doing. I think I did 8 competitions in CrossFit this year. It was a good time, man. That's been my therapy. I think Joe Rogan actually talks about this. If you do something that is like just unbearably hard first thing in the morning, all the noise that goes on with your life, whether it's, this 8% interest rates or depleting inventory or, personal things that are going on, if you're in the suck at the very beginning of the day, it just kind of helps you navigate through what the noise of everyday life happens to look like. And that's been CrossFit's kind of been my outlet to get away from all the craziness in the therapy and just be able to think a little bit clearly.
Yeah.
It was fun too. So
well, for some, right? Obviously for you it is. I'm with you 100%, right? Get into the suck as fast as you can and doing hard things really it makes everything so much more bearable, so much easier to deal with, so much just like certain things don't bother you as much as they used to. And, none of us really want to, it's easy to fall into complacency. Right. And so I think it comes down to that word discipline and doing those hard things over an extended period of time. But I'm with you, it's some type of mindfulness, especially in those moments of almost solitude. And I believe, the camaraderie and doing things and doing it with other people, that's great. However, and I don't know for you, for me, it's those moments, hours in of just you, right? Alone in your thoughts and you're kind of, you're forced to deal with those things. It helps put a lot of things into perspective.
Mm-hmm. Man, I'll tell you what, there is, whatever world's problems I've got at that moment, nothing is worse than trying to figure out how to take my next breath when I'm in that pain cave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing sucks more. And, kind of going back to Joe Rogan, I've been on a little bit of a kick with that lately, but he had a quote with Mike Tyson a while back, and they talk about discipline is doing the stuff that you hate and doing it like you love it. And I'm like, man,
yeah,
it's kind of true. There's a parallel that runs through anything and everything that you end up doing: sports, real estate, life, relationships, all that other fun stuff. It's all there.
Yeah, it really is. And for you, like you said, the 8 competitions, you could suck it up and get into that pain cave every day like you do. Why the competitions? Is it just something, competitively in you, something you're trying to, what are you building towards, I guess?
Well, going into the competition style, we're all, anybody that's in the business has got some sort of competitive drive, because otherwise we wouldn't shoot for the transactions or the GCIs or the dollar volumes that we're chasing. For me, this was just a way to kind of get back in front of, a high school sports type environment and still feel like I just feel alive at that particular moment. And, one of my favorite things that have been going on is being able to test myself against people that are my age within a 5-year window. Like right now I'm on the tail end of 40 to 44. I'm gonna turn 45 in March, and I age up. So I get to be the young kid again. So that's going to be a nice opportunity.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a lot, but the 40-year-olds are some savages compared to the 44-year-olds. And, maybe I got a shot to be able to hang on and do a little bit better against some of the best in the country. So it's been a lot of fun.
Is it for you? Is it a lot of just testing yourself against yourself?
Yes. You against you, man. Of course you want to be better than the guy next to you, but I've discovered that if you focus on what somebody else is doing and not bring it with, okay, well, they can do it, I can too. You got to look at it of how are they doing it to be able to get better? What are some of the steps that are attached to that to be able to get better? And, just got to get a little bit better every day. And eventually, I like to joke that I'm like the most okayest. I'm not an outstanding athlete in any particular one thing, but I'm decently okay at a lot of them. So
Yeah. How does, specifically speaking, because, kind of shifting gears with this conversation, and it's evolved over the years, and, everything we do gets pushed to the Coach Code, podcast platform, and, the team will take, these live conversations. They'll take some other things that we've done and chop them up, and, staying pretty consistent as we're coming up on, 500, podcast episodes, and really have shifted. Like I said, the evolution over the years, especially these type of conversations have been focused around, coaching dynamics to just let's just chop it up and have a conversation. I mean, I think even back in 20, you and I jumped on, and I mean, we were having our bourbon and
Yep.
Just a fun, great conversation. And, really the agent to CEO conversation is really just that, right? Getting into the business as that evolution from, even mindset and activities, to, getting in and either on a team and, maybe kind of reactive to playing checkers. And as right, when you start bringing on team members and people that, you're responsible for, that whole game and dynamic changes and really, becomes chess and, more strategy, but really being more strategic. And what I'm always curious about is, you find leaders like yourself that are excelling and thriving in other activities. How does that carry over into what you're trying to accomplish within the business side of things, and then vice versa, right? How you're having success in the business side of things, how does that carry over into, the other equities of life?
Right. Well, there's some parallels that go on, just like we talked about a second ago, doing the things that you hate and doing them like you love them. There's no secret right now. The trick to being successful in the real estate business has to do with the things that are the things that you're doing every single day when people aren't watching.
Yeah.
I think that there's too many people get stuck in the in the results, like here's my closing, or here's my listing, or here's my whatever, and it's we're too focused on the end, but it's really all about the journey and what's happening in between. Like, how many people did you actually have a conversation with? You're going to have a lot more of them today than we did 2 years ago. It was order taken back then. Now it's going to be, where's, not everybody, obviously there's people that want to move, but financial positions aren't going to necessarily, we're just going to have to talk to more people. And at the end of the day, those that are making the commitment to be able to go after and do that are going to be the ones that are going to thrive. So the same thing is going to happen with me in the gym. If I'm doing the ugly stuff of the things that aren't quite as fun and the things that I absolutely hate to do, the only way for me to be able to get better is to do those things every single day, even when it's not in class, or it's just extra stuff that I end up doing. It's all, there's no secret. It's doing the little things consistently over and over and over again. And, I'm human. I've had lulls this year too. And it always boils down to, am I in my database or not? Or am I, if I'm having that lull, did I, because at the end of the day, when we look in the mirror, we know if we did what needed to be done to win that day. There's no guess. It's a yes or no. It should, and we need to be holding ourselves accountable to that. And not, human beings in general, I think are real good at being like, I'll get it tomorrow. And we end up getting it tomorrow, and there's nothing on the board,
Yeah.
team members, ourselves, whatever that happens to look like. And that could be in your business. It could be in your personal relationships. It could be what's showing up on the physical side too, for what you're doing at home and exercising.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And it's those daily activities, is doing the things that, doing and willing to do when nobody's watching. Right. And I think there's that parallel, nobody's watching you, get up in the morning and then, get to the gym, and then nobody's watching you. And I remember Cam Hanes saying this, and you might've said it on Rogan to Rogan, is like, you know, somebody talking about, hey, let's go make that run. I've been running. And he goes, I find out real quick if they've been running training for a marathon or if they've been running training for a 5K. And there's a difference, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can say you've been running every day, but what's the workload, the equivalent that you're putting in? And I think that carries over into real estate as well. And there was a really good visual kind of aspect to, or mental concept to think about, more or less, is from the imagine that you were on camera. You were living a reality TV show and the camera was always on. How would you show up? How would you be doing those activities that you do in the dark? How would you be, you know, and it's like
you find another gear, huh?
You would always find another gear. So can you know, when the camera's on, you turn it on. Well, what would happen in your mind if you believed that the camera was always on? How would you show up? How would you behave? How would you think differently?
It's true, man. You know, one of the things that we do too with inside our organization, we have, you know, group accountability. This is how many calls we made. This is how many people we spoke to. This is how many appointments we set. This is how many, you know, offers were written, contracts accepted, listing appointments set, taken, all that other fun stuff. You got to do it out in front. And it's funny when, you know, when one's on the low and everybody else is hitting, there's a little bit of like movement going on with what's happening. Cause you know, there's a little bit of eye spying out there of what's acceptable and what's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Be able to generate that stuff, but it's so true. If you imagine that your whole life is a reality TV show, you know, maybe you don't hit the snooze button at 4:15, 4:30, 5 o'clock nearly as many times, because what does that show? Right.
You know, and I think you're along the same lines, right? You know, I'm always trying to remind myself, man, how I do anything is how I do everything. If I'm shortcutting it here, then does that mean I'm going to shortcut it over there? And man, I think it's just so much around those mental frameworks, those mental concepts. And I think a lot of them, you know, because I do, man, I try to, you know, push people to be like, how you think is the most important thing, right? Like I can give you every tactic, every proven framework, every outside tool, resource, and none of it matters until you can nail what's going on inside.
Yeah, that person that you're talking to in the mirror, you know, you've got to be able to have that right talk. Those affirmations are super important. And actually, my girlfriend said this to me the other day. A lot of people look at the things that are going wrong, but instead of looking for those things that they're about to happen, they look for the little glimmers that are going on in life and being thankful for those glimmers. And what ends up happening is more of these glimmers end up showing up in your life, you know, and instead of waiting for the next bad thing to pop up, you're waiting for the next good thing to pop up. And it magically kind of happens. There's a running joke too in my family. They call me parking Jesus, because I just expect the good spot to pop up. I'm not mad if it doesn't.
That's right.
I just think the world owes it to me.
Right. You know, it's funny as shit, man. You say that. So we were just talking about you know, very good friend, Mr. Blake Sloan, right before this. Blake is the same way, right? It drives Kaylee crazy. He's like, I mean, he'll drive right up to the front. And because he's talking to himself, hey, there's gonna be a parking spot up front. There's gonna be a perfect parking spot up front. It's up there. It's waiting for me. If it's not there right now, then I'll circle back around, because there's gonna be a car leaving and it's gonna open up as soon as I pull in. Every time, like I've been with him so many times, I laugh. I don't say a word, but I know what's going on and I laugh. But it's that there's something there, right? In that power, because when we start to have that self-talk, that dialogue, right? That fires, it's the whole why the vision exercises, why you visualize these things are so important, because it forces our minds. It's the reticular activator. We start to look for what we're thinking about. And it, you know, to her point, I love it. And I'm going to share something my coach shared with me on Monday. You know, it's you see opportunity. But if you're in a negative state and everything and oh is me and the world is against me, then guess what you get to see?
Shit attracts shit, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. So there's so much power to being able to visualize that and think in that term, because what it does is it opens up our eyesight to be able to see. And it's Jocko talks a lot about this, right? And I think this is where a lot of agents have struggled and a lot of leaders have struggled, is that they've been looking down the barrel. And he talks about that, right? You can only see what's in your sights. And that's why you have to disengage and step back, because then it allows you to see what are all of the opportunities open to me to where I can then proceed. But to your point of what she shared with you, and she's so right, and you got to share this with her. So my coach, Coach Matt, and he's my life coach, right? He's my life coach. He's my therapist. He's, helping me with my head. He helps with the relationships. He helps with me as a leader. He helps with me as a coach. And I believe everybody should have a Matt. And he goes, do you know what really makes a happy, long lasting relationship? He goes, I've seen, married couples that have been together for 50 years. And, the question of how, what's the secret to the success? What is it? How come you guys are so happy? Is it like this all the time? And he said, the reality of it is it's the micro moments. And he said, it's 7 seconds. And he said, it's 7 seconds on average, 20 times a day. Robbie, that's 2.5 minutes. He said 2.5 minutes a day over a decade, over 2 decades, leads to the most fulfilling,
right there, man,
and the happiest life that you could ever live. And so we were talking through it, and Leanne was on the call with me, and he said, Leanne, because there was something on the call where we had like a little moment. He goes, remember what just happened there? He goes, that's one. He said, Leanne, think through, give me some more. And she goes, and she just melted. She goes, when John brings me my coffee in the morning. And like just the second that like he hands me the cup of coffee and gives me a kiss and says, good morning. She goes, literally 5 seconds, 6 seconds, 7 seconds max. And he goes, that's a moment.
No.
What tends to happen, to your point, is that we as humans tend to look at the 437 things that were not right, and we forget to look at the 21 or 22 things that were.
Right.
But it's your choice. You get to choose what you want to give your attention to. And you and I, the people that I know that live life on another level, they choose to look at the things that bring them happiness, things that open up more opportunities.
And man, it doesn't mean that everything's going right in any of our lives at this moment, but
right.
You're right. We've got a choice to be able to make that decision on which direction we end up going. We're on that Jocko kick. Another one he talks about was, man, such and such went wrong. Good.
That's my favorite.
I love that video, man. Good. More time to train. Good. More time to reevaluate. Good. All of those things, man, it's such a shift for something like that, to be able to look at that as an opportunity to take it in, instead of I got crapped on, to turn around to, next time this ain't happening because I'm prepared for it.
Yeah.
Magical.
The things with kind of your discipline and really your kind of your commitment outside of work, right? And how that's cascaded over and carried into the other areas of your life, specifically speaking to you within the business side of things. How has that really carried over for you from a leadership perspective?
Well, I think it's, it's not the words that we tell our people, it's the actions that they see. It's we can have, there's lots of leaders out there that are talking heads that don't walk the talk. And, Cheplack talks about this all the time. How can you sit here and speak out of discipline and commitment, and you're a slob.
Yeah.
How can you do that? You're a living lie.
Yeah.
When you
Right.
don't do that. And that one kind of hit home a
Yeah.
long time ago. And you just got to be the example. And from the other side, on the fitness thing, I'm running circles around 20-year-olds now at work because I've got the energy to do it. I feel great.
Yeah.
Beat up a lot, but man, I feel right here sharp, ready to roll.
It's fun listening, to kind of your point with Rogan. He's got all, he's got his buddies, training, and it's fun listening to how he's talking and he's training them and him sharing their feedback, right? Like, I feel great. Like some of them were talking about, it's the feeling I get when I'm on drugs, right? And it's like, he's like, yeah, that's why you don't need that shit, right? This is what you need. This is your drug.
That actually is the secret. That's why I've stuck around for so long. The very end of those workouts, there's a dopamine blast. And I'm just like, there's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like it. Now, we talked about running. I have yet to find the runner's high. if we were that guy that was training for the marathon, okay, if there was a 1.2K, that's about where I'd tap out right there.
Yeah. It's funny, man.
At the time. So.
I laugh about it. I think about it too. And I'm like, 50 miles in, I'm like, where in the fuck is this high at?
It's not on the ground.
I still ain't found it. Like, where are you? Like, where is this runner's high?
Looking in the sky, I can't find this thing anywhere, and I need to find it. But apparently, it's way more miles out than I've been willing to go.
The Ryan Holiday talks about it a lot. And he talks about basing it back off of, Stoic philosophy and everything that he lives around. But one of the things, and I've heard him say it in a lot of conversations, but he talks about, we're all made by hard things. And I remember, man, and I might've shared this with you. We were at Traffic and Conversion used to have which is digital marketer, which their big summit is traffic and conversion. So it's digital marketer, but they had a really great, it was one of their best ones. And it was content and commerce is what they called it. And it was all around content before content was content. And then obviously it was more geared towards the commerce side of things. But it was the last one they had, and it was out in LA, and Jesse Itzler was the keynote. And I don't know if Jesse had signed, he hadn't signed with Gary Vee yet. But Jesse, for those of you guys listening in, Jesse is he's part owner of the Atlanta Hawks. He's one of the most interesting men alive. Him and McConaughey, I think, are the two most interesting, men alive. And he did, if you got, we talk about it a lot. I know you went through it, is living with a SEAL, and find out that SEAL was David Goggins, right? That was before anybody knew who David Goggins was. Jesse's married to Sarah Blakely. So, won the lottery there. Mm-hmm. But he said something from stage, and this really resonated hardcore with me, is that, one of the worst things that we can do as human beings is accomplish a big feat of something, great, monumental in our life. And then we don't reset the next goal. And this, man. You get to the top of the mountain, guess what's on the other side? Another mountain.
If you're doing it right.
That's right. So that for me was a wake up call. And I think, as leaders, because even if we're not leading an organization, right? Even if we're just a part of an organization, we still have leadership responsibilities, because leadership is not leading down, right? Leading across, leading up, and most importantly, leading yourself. And so even in business, right, we accomplish something. So what's next, right? We can't just rest. We can't be, the person that peaked in high school. And we all know them, right? We all have those buddies that peaked in high school. And they're still living off of that, and they never reset the goal. So for you as a leader, you're living it and showing it. How are you, other than example, how are you pushing and challenging your people to lead and be better, not only at, in their business, but in their lives.
We even, on our group huddle, we even do a personal goal that's there. So, I've been a big believer on fitness, obviously. So, one of the accountability matrix trackers that we have, workout, whether it's 3 days, 4 days, 6 days, 7 days, whatever that happens to be, what was your goal? Did you hit it? Because at the end of the day, because I know, because I do it, is, the more I'm out and sweating, the better I'm performing, dealing with real estate and dealing with clients and dealing with, because I still love being in the trenches for production. It's just one thing that I'm either a glutton for punishment or just haven't grown up enough to want to be full-time leader. I just love it. It's just it's always just come natural. So, again, just leading by example when it comes through that. We got to be able to go and track these things. And I know there's a direct correlation between hitting your numbers both on personally will lead to the ones on professionally as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so key in just really thinking through and, listening to you talk about, the accountability with the team and, what we've got to do daily. Yet I really think to some, and there's, I think, very few that have really structured it in a way to where, they're able to demonstrate leading by example in a different capacity. But I think right now for a lot of agents and a lot of smaller teams, mid-sized teams, even large teams, you better be leading by an example within the business and modeling the behavior that you want to instill, because, and this, I mean, environment can form some really bad habits.
Oh yeah.
And there's been a lot of agents that have formed some really bad habits, especially if they got licensed in 2021. They've been in some reactive mode.
For sure. It's even the people that were there before, it was bad because you were in good habits before COVID happened. You break the good habits because it was so easy. And you're right, you were in reactive mode. So if you were in reactive mode, if you weren't staying on top of because it was just falling from the sky everywhere you turn. List employment here, offer, offer. You didn't even have time to plan, which almost sounds crazy. I mean, it was possible, but you almost didn't even have time to be able to do that. So you lose the good habits that actually made you the agent that you were supposed to be. And some people adapted and shifted, and some people just keep waiting. It's almost like they keep waiting for it to come back. Like there's hope, maybe the feds will drop the rate and mortgage rates will fall and that'll jump up. And that's my hope. And that's what I want to get. Hope's not a strategy, man.
It's not a strategy.
It's not a strategy.
Nope. No matter what you visualize, right? You still have to be driving to the location. You still gotta be moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to be moving forward. I think, other than daily accountability, being clear, as we're wrapping up the year, heading into a lot of unknown and a lot of things that are out of our control. What's kind of that mantra that you're reminding yourself of, the team of, to where to give our energy and our focus to, on a daily basis right now?
We can't change the environment that we're in. And it's, I almost kind of feel like I'm a little bit, it's got to be a mindset activity there. If you look at your hot sheet every day, your MLS is going to show somebody was listed, somebody was under contract, and somebody closed. And why not us? They did it. Why can't we? It's not a jealousy thing. Man, they're doing something wrong. That's not it. They're doing something right. These folks are doing something right. Why not us? So, I find that now more than ever, collaborating with other like-minded individuals or people that are being successful right now. You know, even whenever I'm having those struggling times, you know, being able to collaborate a little bit and look at things in a different light to go bring that into my business. Like, oh, maybe this script's working, or maybe this ad's been working, or the funnel's been working over here, or this social media campaign's been working out, or these reels have been getting a little bit more traction. Just to, you know, what ends up happening, I find, is that when we're collaborating with these other successful individuals, everybody ends up coming up at the same time. And, you know, it's the abundance mindset that you've always preached. You know, if we're holding on to those secrets, you know, eventually it'll dry up, and it just doesn't come up because your heart's not in the right spot. You know, if your heart's in the right spot to be able to give, it's just amazing how much more comes to you that way.
Yeah. I mean, as humans, we want to contribute, we want to give, we want to help, but we also want to feel like, you know, that it's for most, right? I mean, there's the very special few that can get to that complete servant style leadership without some, you know, give and take, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, just some, you know, appreciation, right? I mean, it's just the things, right? As human needs start to get kind of starved out, to where, you know, there's the you know, just even the level of appreciation and everything that kind of goes in there. But I was thinking, as just kind of recalling, I had Caleb on the show last week, Caleb Pearson, and he had mentioned kind of along the same lines, right? Being able to stay plugged in with higher level people that are challenging him from a collaboration standpoint. And he also talked about exactly what you said. He's like, I am getting back into the trenches with the team. I've got to help them see what's possible. I've got to help them understand and model the behavior and being able to get in. He goes, now, am I going to, you know, do the full amount of time? He goes, no, I have other responsibilities. I have other things to make sure that this organization moves forward. And I think hearing that from him, and then hearing the message from you, I know it's right. And I think from, you know, for all of us as leaders, we've got to be doing the day-to-day activities alongside our team members, just so that they have that camaraderie.
You know, if you're in production and you're not doing the things that you're expecting of your people, you're a fraud.
Yeah. Plain
and simple. And, you know, it's awesome. You know, I mean, today's objections are so much different than they were 2 years ago. Why would I want to move from 4%? Well, we wouldn't be talking if you didn't have some sort of pain, right? We wouldn't be sitting here. Like, I get where you're coming from, but there's a reason that we're having that conversation right now, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, or Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. You know, yeah. There's a reason. What is it?
Yeah.
I'm not telling you that you need to move right then and there, but something's got to be moving on. Or maybe there's some, you know, maybe we can uncover with a little bit of math why it actually makes sense for you to move up. You know, we got a lot of spots right now where inventory is still low and we're still running into multiple offers with 8% interest rates. And then you move up, you know, a couple $100,000 and you can get 7, 8, 10% off the list price of some of these houses. And then you run some break-even rates later on. You know, you run some math showing them what the break-even rate happens to be by paying a little bit more money per month over the course of that reduction. You can be in there for 120 months difference. You know, 50, I like to use my public school math. If I get a $50,000 discount, I'll save $500 a month. We got a break-even rate of 100 months. That's 8 years. We're going to probably see the market shift a few times between now and then.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think that's how you got to break down the math. So simple.
Can't guarantee it forever, but I mean, it's going to shift. Nothing's permanent in this business. We've both been around for so damn long.
Yeah.
We've seen things. This is totally different than anything that I've seen before, but if anything's consistent, it's going to change.
Right. It is going to change. Where do you see, you know, to that point, where do you see as it changes, where are the opportunities? Where are you seeing the opportunities? What are you excited about? What are you keeping your people focused on? Where are the moves?
Man, I think the move up buyers that are, you know, and this is going to be different for every market, of course. You know, our move up buyers are the $200,000 to $275,000, $300,000 seller that's moving into the $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 buyer.
Yeah.
It's a huge opportunity, and a lot of them, you know, man, you could have even bought in 2020 and 2021 and still be in an equity position right now. You could make money from what you did at the crazy rates because there's nothing out there. Nothing. You may pay, like I said, you may pay a little bit more, but you've got to be able to illustrate on paper why it makes sense. And of course you got to do it in an ethical manner to make sure that they know that they've got to be fiscally responsible to their family as well, but where it could make sense for them to be able to make more money moving forward. Look, as far as I'm concerned, I don't have a crystal ball, but my guess is that next year we got a president that's coming, and then somebody's got to be the savior come election. I'm not to say that this will happen, but I think rates are going to soften up on us because somebody's got to, there's got to be some sort of, and I don't care which side of the fence you happen to swing. I think they're all want to be responsible for better mortgages. So there's light at the end of the tunnel, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. And, it's going to be weird leading up to it, but just being able to stay consistent, I think, showing up daily and doing the work, right? Showing up just like you, right? You can't just show up at the gym. You got to get in and put in the work while you're there. And I think doing the things and really just asking myself, is this within my control? And if it's not, I don't need to give it any light. I need to just keep focused on the things that are within my control. And I need to give that because as you know, we only have so much energy. Even doing the things that increase the energy, we still only have so much, and we got to make sure that we're giving it to the things that are moving us closer. How are you, and really from a leadership perspective, has the vision evolved? Has the vision changed? What is the vision now for the organization?
We went through a bit of a shift last year, running through divorce. I kind of had addition by subtraction. So right now we're a good bit smaller, and just to get my own personal life down together and just kind of figure out exactly where I was going, had to reset some things from where I was looking at before. And now that I got my head wrapped around where I'm going, growth is actually something that's on my mind. That's going to be a focal point moving forward to 2024, because there's people out there that are agents that are looking for some sort of direction, because everywhere you turn online, there's just negative. And if you keep listening to all that garbage, you're going to eventually believe it and look for those things that we were talking about earlier, like, hey man, this stuff keeps on happening to me. Well, why not? This is where the mind shift happens to be. I think people need the help, and being able to share that, like we talked about before, the ability to be able to give back to somebody to help grow their business and show them where they can succeed and how to be able to do that is something that's always been pretty important to me.
Yeah, no, I love it. And just being able to, I think it's a lot of the transformation, right? Being able to have an impact and give and help see the transformation in people's lives. And I think for anybody that's been in this game long enough, you have to have that some type of serving and helping and transformation in you.
Yes.
I love what you said too. And I think it's important from a model perspective, is it's okay to shrink that thing down, to get real tight, to figure out kind of that next move. And that is a mental concept, right? Growth through subtraction. And I think there's a lot of people out there that will hear this and listen to this, and you might be running, a little bit larger organization, a little bit larger team that has a lot of dead weight that you're trying to carry with it. And it might not be a bad move to get real tight and see who wants to get down in that foxhole with you, and who's willing to show up and do the work required in this market, right? You and I have been in this game long enough to know if you're back on your heels, you're gone. You've got to be out on your toes. You've got to be proactive. You've got to be allocating time every day. Like you said, living in that database. Who am I connecting with? What touches? How am I engaging? And then create what you've done. And I just want to emphasize, because it was so spot on, is forming that level of accountability, but also getting the people into the trenches with you that want to be held accountable. Because everybody says it, but when you start to ratchet up that accountability, you see who who can really, who really wants it.
Oh, man, when you're tightening things down, I think one of the big problems with most agents today is that we want that quick buyer, and they're going after the paper. Not that there's anything wrong with this, but spending more money on somebody new when you've got a database of people. Now, some people have been in this business for 3, 4, 5 years, what have you, or a little bit less. There's always people that that are out and around. And if you're providing some form of value, we don't need to be spending the money on things that don't necessarily have if you don't have the funds that are out there, you got to be doing the things that don't cost, like getting online and providing value to the public that's out there and just generating that brand that's out there. I love doing market updates. Matter of fact, this is going to be something that I'm doing when we jump off, giving an update on the market. That doesn't cost a thing. But if you're doing things consistently, providing value out it's amazing how the calls just come.
Imagine that.
It's so crazy. If you do this over and over and over and over and over again, it just, people see it. My goal for anybody that's living in the Acadiana area in South Louisiana is like, Robbie, every time I turn on my damn phone, whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or whatever, or you're opening up my email, I keep seeing you. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm not.
That's right. It's right.
Come around.
It's mind share. And I think I had, one of the other conversations and, through the Expert Mentor series, through Honey Badger Nation. And, we take those conversations, put them on the podcast as well. But, those are, really more kind of a how to, this is what's working in my business type of conversation. And I had Kenny Trong, who is fast real estate out in the Bay Area. And Kenny's got a massive team. And I mean, they're 300 agents strong throughout that area.
Dang.
And, they're focused on action right now. And a lot of the things that you were talking about that we're going to hold you accountable to, doing the things within your control. But you nailed it with what you just said. And Kenny thought back as kind of heading into this market, and he's like, okay, how did I build my business? And he goes, I built my business off of Instagram, and I put the perception out there that I was busier than what I was. And people kept saying, bro, I see you everywhere, all over, dude. You're slinging houses. And you look at him, he's like, yeah, man, but I want to be slinging more houses.
Garbage.
Yeah. And I shared the same conversation with about Tammy Pack. You know Tammy down in Fredericksburg. She's magical. And when her and Wes first got together and they just had moved to Fredericksburg, they had I think they had kind of going through a property that they were either rehabbing or something, but it was one of their very first deals, and they needed this deal to home run for them so that they could, take that, capital out of there to kind of, reinvest the oxygen back into the business in their life to keep things moving. And I remember her telling me the story, and she was like, I took pictures of Wes working around and working at the house. He took pictures of me, and we used those photos on social media for weeks. And they were different angles and different lights, different things. And people would come up to us, and she goes, now keep in mind, this was our only deal. This was the only thing we had. And people coming up to us and going, y'all are killing it in real estate already.
Perception's reality. Yeah.
Perception's reality. And I think that's a great reminder for a lot of people right now. If they're struggling with getting enough deal flow, as the deal flow is a little bit tighter, put your focus and your energy. And this is what Kenny said. We're focused on mind share. So we're consistently committed to reels and podcasts. Reels and posts. We're committed to stories. We're committed to door knocking. We're committed to previewing properties. And he said, the reason is that what I've found, this is, him talking as a leader of 300 to 400 agents in his organization. And he goes, the thing that I found is where people get hung up, and we know this, is like, what do I post? He goes, I don't want you to create content. I want you to document you doing the activities out in real estate. You're out door knocking. Talk about the community. Talk about the neighborhood. Talk about like what you're talking about, the market update, the market snapshot. What's going on in this market as I'm walking through it? That's the play. Mind share before market share.
What's interesting too, like you talked about it before, you could be doing this is all things that when you're brand new, it's all the things that we used to do to get to the point to where we were comfortable being able to. Now you just got to reset yourself.
Yeah.
You got used to being able to close 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 deals. And now you're down to 30, 40. There's a reason. You just got to get back to those habits. And I love what Kenny talked about. Just document the activity.
Yes.
Because nobody knows the difference.
Right.
We kind of get, and look, I'm guilty of this too, because I probably should have. This is a good takeaway. Walking through, I do these market updates. I could be walking through a subdivision, giving a market update that's going on right here. Now, while I'm over here, this is one of the things that everybody happens to love about this particular community. You're right here. You're right here. You're close to this, close to this. This is all easy things, and we just get inside our head of, I don't want to look like everybody else, or I'll just look stupid on this particular video. Look, I'm guilty of it.
I tell you who's crushing it. Go check out what Alex is doing. Alex Piot. Go check out what Alex is doing in Frisco on his YouTube channel. He's focused on all the builders and new construction. So to your point right there, he's walking the community. He's walking out of the builders, the show home, talking about the building show home, talking about what's really going on here, and doing the market update for that neighborhood and the builders. And, oh, hey, by the way, hey, here's the weekly update. Here's what the builders, I just walked out. The builder rep just told me what all the incentives are for the month of November. And hey, if you want somebody to help you represent and negotiate you a little bit better deal, right? Whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
But boom, it's there. It's walking around. It's there. And you nailed the word. And I know that word pains you to even say, comfortable.
Yeah.
But that's what's happened, man. I think a lot of agents have become comfortable. And then obviously the cousin is complacency. And then you either have a belief, and I know you believe this just like I do. You're either growing or you're dying. Comfortable and complacency ain't growing.
No doubt.
No, those are good stuff, brother. And I think focusing on the mind share is because we can do those things. Those are things within our control. And I just think that's where a lot of people have to get, and they cannot allow themselves to become, paralyzed by what do I do and the overthinking of things. And it helps because here's the other thing too, Robbie. If, as a leader, even getting in with your team, like you said, right, creates that energy. And, staying curious, man. It's like, man, let me think back. Because what Kenny said was gold. Man, what did I do in the beginning when I didn't have the money to go buy my business? What did I do to generate exposure, to generate eyeballs? Stay curious, man. Just always asking those questions, but surround yourself. And especially if you're in a leadership dynamic, you have a team, get plugged in with your team daily. If not, right, if you're out there on an island, what would you tell somebody, man, if they're an agent out there trying to get it out themselves, what would you tell them to do right now?
Well, right now, this is almost something where you can look inward. You just mentioned it. If I, as a team leader, and asking them to be out there, are they seeing me do the same?
Yeah.
Because if I'm not, I'm the one being complacent.
Yeah.
It's they need to see it. It can't just be that one. And look, I'm looking inward as we're talking. There's some holes. I had a little bit of a valley on Q3. Q4 is looking a little bit better, but man, there was just, it's super easy. I just get in my own way, which makes me human, you guys.
Yeah.
Just like everybody else, we all have our good ones, but got to find that little spot for improvement and act on it.
You do, man. It's so good. Brother, I appreciate you, man. It's always amazing and fantastic to catch up, and I'm watching, paying attention, and you are, man. You're showing up every damn day, and even when you don't want to. And I think the reminder is that
the days that you don't want to are actually the most important ones. You know, if you're having a really crap day, you know, for me at the gym, if I'm having a real crap day, if I can just move a little bit at 30, 40%, just go, because you're going to be happy that you did it. If you're having that day on the prospecting side and you're just getting your face kicked in every time you're talking to people, just get a few in. You got to get in there, because the second one day of not doing it turns into 2, turns into 4, turns into 7, turns into a month. It's a bad habit, man. You can't let 2 days happen in a row. Just can't. Yeah. Just show up, even a little bit. Just be there.
So good, brother. I appreciate you. And, you know, everybody listening in, make sure you guys get connected, pay attention, follow Robbie. Definitely, man, example of discipline and, you know, being able to allow, you know, one area that you may excel at with discipline, let it carry over in the other areas of your life. And that's really, to me, what it's all about.
Amen.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you guys. See you later.